Hey guys, welcome back to the Dutch Investor channel. Lately I've been receiving a lot of questions in regards to a follow-up about how to find great stocks. I was fortunate enough to pick a stock and it actually looked interesting from the start, and people were asking me if I could do a follow-up on it. And you guys were right. Like, I left you hanging basically. I just told you, okay, how to find interesting stocks, and then, okay, what should you do next? Like, I didn't tell you that. So I'm gonna tell you that in this video, and we're gonna be looking at the same company, and I'll tell you what I think of it now that I went further into it. Um, if you haven't checked the previous video, I will put it in the description. But to quickly recap, we discussed firstly the choose a direction, then we went to decide what you're looking for, and then choose your requirements. I now have 3 follow-up steps. And the first one is understand the business. This is a very important one, but you can't know this one before you have are even considering a stock or a company. So that will be step number 4. 5 is it's important that you understand the industry. And lastly, you want to understand the risks. Those would be, in my opinion, the first things I would be looking at before going any further if a company is looking interesting. So with understand the business, yeah, we just want to know how they make money, how they spend money, and what to look for. Understand the industry, we want to know where they are operating and what things we should keep in mind. And understand the risk, I guess it's not that a weird one, but it's important that you know that the risks that are involved and how you should um, behave accordingly, I guess. Like, you need to know if something happens, how you should respond to it, if you should respond to it. So yeah, let's start. Understand the business. First step, go to Google, and with everything, I suggest once you have a company, you type IR, which stands for Investor Relations, space, and you type the company name. Almost always you will get the first link, and it will be referring to the Investor Relations page. So keep that in mind, just quick Google and then select the first link. If you get to the first page, you will see this. Just read it. This is basically their eye catcher, so they want you to read it. Supplying the world with iron ore pellets for over 40 years. So the company has been existing for a long time, and we now know that besides the fact that they are in steel, we know that they are iron ore producer slash miner. So next, we see a whole list of I guess tabs that you can go to, or websites or pages, and things that actually took my interest instantly. Like, I guess most people go to financial calendar, like, when are they going to pay dividends? But we're not there yet. We need to go through the other parts. So things that seem interesting: business model, like we want to know what they're doing. Reasons to invest, I get, in the company. You don't really see this one that often, at least not like, okay, that clearly. And something else that I found interesting is the 13-year summary and KPI performance. So I clicked on these pages and I'm going to walk you through it now. First, business model. It was a very short introduction, and yeah, their business model is our strategy is to continually grow our output of iron ore by developing our substantial resources in a sustainable and environmentally sensitive manner, whilst developing our people and allowing them to achieve their full potential. Vital to our ongoing success is that we continue to be valued as a reliable first-tier supplier by our high-quality global customer base. So this is probably the most important one, and here you can see their values. So yeah, now we know what they do. We already had an idea, but it's important that we know what they do. Reasons to invest. Like, here you can see all the reasons. They have 6 reasons, and you can click on the item and it will give you more information. So if you want to check that out, feel free to do so. You now know how to Google it and how to find it and go to this page. One thing I would like to point out is the strong cash flow and competitive cost position. I like competitive cost positions like DGOC, as you know, like very low cost. I'm not that convinced that this is the case with this one, but we also saw a strong cash flow, and that is what pulled us to this company in the first place. So I like that they put it here. And honestly, to understand all the other parts, I think I would need to learn more about both the business and the industry. But if everything seemed interesting, that is well worth my time. Next, the 13-year summary and KPI performance. And this is probably the most important one that I saw, because at this point I knew, okay, maybe this company is not that interesting at this moment. Let me explain that to you. Here you see the 13 years of performance. Yeah. Look at how many production they have produced, or how many items they have produced, or iron ore pellets in tons. But look at this number, and it's basically pretty steady, like it fluctuates a bit. But if you look at like a 13-year growth, it is like 15%, and that is not even like compounded. So I guess it's like 1% growth rate on average per year. That is not a great growth rate. What we saw in the video, in the previous video, is that we saw these numbers. We saw them on Finance Yahoo. So we see a very good increase, and we saw a very good increase here, and we saw, what was it? Now we saw the net income, but that's not visible here, which is fine. It's not that important. But look, if you go further back, you see, like I just want you to think about this one, and like how would you see this company right now if you look at this? And let me tell you, this is a cyclical company. You see, if you put this in a graph or like a chart, you will see that it goes like this, you know, like, don't mind my bows, but how do you say that? My curves. They weren't that proper, but you know, that's how it fluctuates. But the production is pretty steady, but this is how it fluctuates, the revenue. The same goes for cash flow. Look, very unstable. It looks good the last 4 years, but in general it looks unstable. What does that mean? That means it is a cyclical company, and that means that when things look very attractive, it might be the case that it is tricking us, because it could be at the top part of the cycle. And if I look at this cash flow, for example, and I look at this cash flow, then probably it looks very unattractive here and very attractive here. But it could very well be the case that this was a moment to buy the company, because it was going to go, we could know that it was going to grow this way, basically what we're seeing with DGOC and the low gas prices. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this is not something I'm interested in investing. Why? Because it's a cyclical business, and it looks like we're at the peak. Like I will have to look at the iron ore prices, but in general, like, I'm already a bit hesitant about this one. So that's why you always dive deeper, because things looked very good at the start, and now we know why they looked so good. Finally, if you want to understand the business, sorry about that. If you want to understand the business, you have to find the latest annual report. And you can find that one at Latest News. It's like almost 3 weeks old. And if you want to get to know the business, you want to be reading at least one annual report fully. And in the annual report, you can use a search button like in the PDF, and you can use a few keywords. One I would always look for is risks, because you want to know what kind of risk they're seeing. And I always use it to go through the how do you call that, the financial statements, to go there quickly. And if there's anything that I would like to go and dive deeper into in the financial statements, I always use the search function as well. Otherwise, I'm looking for a very long time, because in general, I think an annual report has about well, let's say between 100 and 300 pages. So I don't want to be looking for those key facts for a very long time. However, once it is interesting to me. I want to understand the business, and to understand the business, it is a very good moment to read the annual report and see what the CEO says and what other people say and so on. So that's it for understand the business. Point 4, let's go to point 5. Understanding the industry. This is probably just, you need to be curious for this one. You need to have the urge to understand the industry, and you need to have the urge to wanting to know whatever is involved, and when it comes to iron ore in this case. So Google iron ore, learn what iron ore does, learn what it's being used for, and just check a few links, read the pages, and continue. And you can continue to say iron ore producers. Let's see the competitors. What do they say? Do they have the same values? Do they have the same? Do they also say that they're cost competitive? What do they say? Iron ore Europe. Let's see what Europe does when it comes to iron ore. You could also say iron ore producers in Europe. You could also be more specific because this company was in Switzerland, I believe, so, or Austria or something like that. So yeah, we need to know what other people, what are their competitors that are nearby. Who are the biggest iron ore producers? Something you could Google as well. Like, I'm just shooting things that you could Google and that you need to just figure out before you even consider investing in a company like this. Iron ore price chart. Let's see how the commodity has been moving. Are we right in noticing that it's a cyclical company? And has it been moving in the way we are expecting to? So was iron ore very highly priced in 2019? We could check that. Ferrexpo competitors. We would like to know what their competitors are. We would like to know what the pros and cons of iron ore mining are. What is it being used for? You could also probably find that when you just Google iron ore, but I'm just putting it out there. What is the iron ore supply and demand, and what's the future looking like? Like, if you look at gas, it's not going to be looking that attractive, but iron ore could very well be very attractive in the upcoming future. So these are just a few things. Like, I made it like a web thingy. These are stuff that you want to be looking at, and I guess you can think like 20, 30, 40 more keywords to search for, but start with this and see if you can understand the industry. And if you understand everything that you've been reading, then you can move on to the next step. And the next step is understanding the risks. Risks. That's a hard word for some reason. So if you want to understand the risks, the best thing you can do is to start with the annual report. But keep in mind, step 5, you understood the business, the industry, sorry. What does that mean? That if you actually understand the industry, there's probably some risks that you can think of yourself. Think about that before you go to point 6, step 6. Why? Because this is also a way to check if management is honest. Do they actually share with you what the risks are? So think about that. Make sure that you also check that and think about that when you are trying to research or trying to understand the industry. Next to that, it is also very good. Like, here we see the latest news, but we just want to check out all the news messages and see what pops up as interesting or something that we could learn from. So this is what we go through. You can select the years here. In this case, like, appointment of acting chief financial officer is not that important right now, but here, statement from Ferrexpo's board of directors. Who knows what they're saying? Could be very interesting. Could be risks involved. Could be, in general, the outlook of the company. When I think about DGOC and when the CEO sends a message, it's very interesting overall, and you actually get to learn a little bit more about the industry as well and the way he sees it. So in general, I like stuff like this, and this is something that I would really like to read, so I highlighted it. Next one that I highlighted is third quarter 2019 production report. If the production went very well or if it went very bad, the reasons will probably be listed here. Could be risks there, so something that we really want to check out. And then all of a sudden, and something that I did not expect at all, is response to allegations made on social media. This is not something that I expect here, but something like this actually draws my attention instantly, because okay, it could be that there is very bad news around the company or CEO or their product or whatever. And if that's temporary, it could actually be a great opportunity. Like right now, we're a bit late to the party. It's like more than half a year ago. But that is something that we really want to be looking at. So we need to make sure that we read this one if we want to look further. And lastly, special dividend. Like, why are they paying a special dividend? I find that interesting. Like, I know a lot of people out there are dividend investors, and while there are a lot of benefits to dividend investing, if I'm looking to buy a company that's going to grow, which obviously we've seen that this is a cyclical company, so it's not going to be that anymore. But special dividend is a company saying, okay, I'm going to return extra value or extra money to shareholders. That could be very good. But if you read through the lines, it's actually saying we are returning money to shareholders because we have no way of investing this accordingly. And if that is the reason that they're paying a dividend, that's actually a great reason, because we don't want to invest in a company that ends up just wasting money by investing in unproductive activities or projects. But I would like to know, if I would go further in this company, I would like to know why they pay a special dividend. And yeah, that's basically it. Like, I can assume a few things, like iron ore has been, or it looked like, because of the cyclical company, that iron ore was very attractively priced. So I can assume that just because the prices are higher, that they're going to pay a special dividend because they have extra money and they have nothing to do with it. But that's just an assumption, and I think this is interesting to read. And the final one that I would highlight is just another quarter production report. And we want to check the differences. And I think you should actually check, when it's a cyclical company, you want to check like 5-6 years in between if possible, because we want to know how they communicate with investors when it is a cyclical company. Because if things are going well, we want to know how they are communicating that. And if things are going bad or looking bad, we want to see if they're honest about it, if they are just saying like, nah, things will get better, don't worry about it. Then obviously they won't say it like that, but you have to read through the lines there as well when you are judging management. So keep that in mind, and these are just a few examples. Like, it will never hurt you if you actually think, okay, this is an interesting company, like you could fit your investment style. Then I suggest you just read everything. When it comes to DGOC, I have read most of their news reports and recent events and all that. That's also why I know all the buys and the management and stuff like that. So if you actually want to invest in a company, it doesn't hurt to read that. But when you're just still initially screening, I would select a few things, because you don't want to invest like weeks of time when you could actually just digest less information and come to the same conclusion. So what did we talk about? We talked about understanding the business, understanding the industry, and understanding the risk. The video was a bit long, so I thought I'd recap that real quick. Yeah, you could see that initially I thought, hey, this company looks pretty good. And that's also why you people asked me, please continue researching this company. Who knows what comes up? And you guys were right. If things look interesting, you should look further. But we now know, based on just understanding the business and what kind of information we saw, that whatever we saw was based on the cyclicality of it, and not because of the amazing growth that they have been going through. Like, the production has been pretty steady. So based on that, I'm gonna say no to this company, and I'm saying no while I don't understand the business. Well, I guess I do understand the business a little bit, but not completely. Like, I haven't invested a lot of time in it, but I also don't understand the industry. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not like I checked what iron ore is used for and stuff like that, but I didn't go through everything. It was not my goal for this video to actually research this company. I want to tell you and educate you how to research the company yourself. So if you are still interested, and it could very well be the case, like if I would suggest something to you guys, like, this is a good starting point to research now, because it could be a point where iron ore is dropping in price, and it's going to look very attractive to invest in any steel or iron ore company. That could happen. Then you already want to know which business you would like to invest in. Right now, I'm going to say no to this company, but if in the future, let's say a few years from now, I think I want to invest in iron ore, I think I should research the industry further, and I should look at competitors and then start comparing them. But for now, I'm going to say no to that. I guess that's it. If you are researching your own company, make sure to follow these steps. Obviously, this is still just a start. But if you want to go through these steps, and after all these, let's say 6 steps, the company still looks interesting, then you research even further. And maybe you could actually just go through the latest news items and maybe through all of them from the past 5 years. That's really something you could consider. But for further steps, I'm gonna leave you hanging a bit. I will follow up. It's gonna be hard for me to just follow up on this company because I'm not that interested in it anymore, and I've already showed you the steps. So yeah, for now I'm gonna be researching other companies and searching for other companies, and if I find something interesting, and we will be going through the same steps, and to have follow-up steps after that. So that's basically the plan. I hope you guys can apply this to your own research, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoy these kind of videos, please consider leaving a like. Apparently it helps out the YouTube channel, so that would be great. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great evening.